Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Metabroz podcast. I am Moldy Potion. This is my bro, Metacrax.
Hey, guys.
And today we're going to be talking about how the wilderness competitive scene is actually looking now that it's started on TTS, and some of us are actually getting to play games. I've tried out a few decks, and I'd like to talk a bit about who I was bumping up against. But first, we're going to be opening up our wilderness spoilers, which have actually just arrived in the mail.
Yeah, just got dropped off. Just before we break them open, if you guys are enjoying the channel and you feel like supporting us, the best way to do that is to first subscribe, because we're trying to make it to 1,000 subscribers, and then we won't ask you to subscribe again. I don't think we will, at least.
No, not once you've subscribed, then we won't ask you.
Also, if you happen to be shopping at Channel Fireball and you feel like supporting us even more, use the code Metabroz with a Z at checkout. Won't cost you anything extra, but it does help us out.
Absolutely. And if you love the content and you want to support my bro and I more directly, you can go to patreon.com/Metabroz with a Z. We've got a bunch of tiers there you can check out. We do raffles and merch giveaways at the end of every month. I'm working on some cards for you guys, some sketch cards, some of which will be some giveaways coming up. So we've got a lot of fun stuff for you guys. We also answer all your questions and help you build your MetaZoo decks. And we also play on TTS now, or at least I do.
Yeah,
you're thinking about it, right?
I'm warming up to it, guys.
Well, you know, if we encourage him enough, maybe we can get him to hop in on some TTS games, and you guys can experience sad cracks for yourself.
That's really what I'm afraid of. I just like devastating. Look, I already have many losses in my life. The idea that I get on with patrons in the evening and then I take on even more losses, I don't know if I'll survive that shit. So right now, I'm comfortable losing to my brother pretty much all the time.
You took the last game, though.
I did. And, you know, I set my little flame spirit aside because that's what I do. When I finally get a viable spell book, or back in the days of Magic the Gathering, a library, that goes in a case on a shelf. By the way, these are not like our cases and we're not sponsored, but I found this little adorable Gamesgenic, almost like a spellbook case.
It's pretty sweet,
isn't it? And it fits a 40 card spellbook perfectly. It is made for Keyforge, so it's not, you know, MetaZoo related at all. I just thought it was really cool, and I'm starting to put my favorite spellbooks like the Flame Spirit.
Let's say this real quick. On that deck that you're playing a lot, the Spirit Flame, I was sitting last night thinking, you know, obviously whenever I lose a game, I'm always like, how can I improve upon this? And all of a sudden I came across a strategy that I might even ask you to play the deck against me one more time.
Yeah, of course.
So I can try this, because what if I played nothing until I got a New Year's New Beginnings, and I just let you draw pages and pages every turn, and I gave you no targets for Pyrokinetic Blast, and you had to decide if you wanted to fireball me for 25, but the burn wouldn't matter because I wouldn't attack. And then I just wait until I hit New Year's New Beginnings, and then I play everything I want in one turn and New Year's New Beginnings and make you drop. Like,
don't tell people this. Now I'm never going to play with the patrons because everyone knows how to beat me.
We got to try it. I'm just like, why didn't I do that? Because my usual strategy, and I think a lot of competitive players will agree with this, you play what you can play. Like, even if you're like, shit, this guy's probably going to get killed, chances are you should probably play him just so that the opponent then has to play their card so that you can keep forcing interactions. But then I thought, oh, but he couldn't burn me the same way he burns my beasties constantly, especially if I didn't have beasties out. And I wonder if I could just hold until I'm like, cool, so you have 14 cards in your hand? Okay, great. New Year's New Beginnings.
I hate you. Let me riff on this a little more before we get into this. Okay. So, I want to go to the patron thing real quick. Playing with the patrons. Eventually, guys, I will join and play you. But I want to catch up with the illustrated novel. That's really important to me, and I have been slacking. We had just a bunch of family stuff and settling into Montana, and we just got that Starlink internet that we've been talking about, so we're testing that out. It does go out during the day, which is kind of weird. I didn't tell you that. So 100 megabyte download speed, 20 megabyte upload speed. Phenomenal, because we're used to like 10 to 15 megabyte download and 1 megabyte upload. So when it works, it's incredible. But I put the Channel Fireball video to go up to Google Drive, and it just didn't do it because there was no Elon Musk like internet all of a sudden.
Like the satellites were gone.
Yeah. And I don't know why that is. So we had to upload it on the normal computer, which then took like over a day, as you were used to by now.
Right.
So we just want to get some things worked out. Like, I want to make sure that Starlink works so that we don't both get on the internet and then neither game can happen, because we're on like a thin razor's edge. When our stepbrother and his wife come home, we lose the ability to like surf internet normally. Like all of our videos drop to below 1080, like sometimes 480. Did you see last night when we were watching The Boys how muddy the picture got?
It got bad.
It's right when they came home. So we're just figuring this out when we know we have great internet. And I finished some of the illustrated novels that I have been procrastinating on. And it's not procrastinating, it's more like practicing. I just do these voices again and again, and I have a lot of fun doing it. And I want to get them what I think is right. So some days, you know, I don't do it the way I want, and I put it off and I come back, and I'm in that progression right now, specifically with the last page of the first illustrated novel, because it's a pretty big page, last two technically. So when I get those wrapped and I have secure internet, we do, then yes, I'll be open to playing our patrons. But now back to where you started this. Don't fucking tell them how
probably
to. No,
never,
let me
guys.
finish. Don't.
So probably you'll never play him.
Don't tell them how to beat me that bad. Like, you know, let's discuss that shit before the show so I can say, don't say that, or I'll never play.
Maybe not the best time to bring up the deck breaking strategy.
I'm just kidding. You guys know that. I'm trying to do like this meta breaking thing where I don't have many beasties, and I focus on clearing the arena and keeping myself safe with pyrokinetic blasts, with fireballs, with Morpheus. And you're right. If you don't give me targets, and I'm going to hold on to a bunch of pages and be terrified of the New Year's New Beginning, which sends all the pages that I have in my hand to the cemetery. I'll be praying for my own new beginnings so I can shuffle them back into my deck
and get down to 7 cards.
But this shit is never going to really work. I mean, personally, yeah, but in a tournament, it's 50 minutes for the best of 3, isn't it?
No, it's 50 minutes per round. Well, yeah, it is, huh? Yep, that's the best of 3 round.
Here's the trip. I know that me and you read cards, but every single game we've uploaded this past week, for the most part, maybe there was one that wasn't, but they're like hour games, man. And it's a single game. It's not even best 2 out of 3. So
that happens, though.
I know, but like, I don't know who the winners of our games would really be if we were like clocking it at 50. Which maybe we want to start doing just to see what the competitive play, the viability of these spell books are against each other. Because my strategy right now takes a long time. I have to wait for targets. I have to clear the arena. I have to keep my beasties that are in my hand that could be New Year's New Beginnings at any moment separated. You guys have seen me do that. I'll New Beginnings myself to get Pieza and 2 Gassies out of my hands so I don't get forced into sending them to the cemetery. Just so I can hopefully see them later.
You have to not only you have to not only have targets, but you have to remove all my targets before you can play your star beasties. So you're actually like, you have to get through my whole spell book
before I even begin.
Before you can really begin to take the game.
The last game that we did play, I did start to bring out beasties a little earlier, you know, like the Adam
that can work.
And like the Gassie. And it's just to start separating that so I don't hold all my eggs in one basket and then you crack the basket and I'm sad cracks forever.
Yeah. I think, you know, I'd be interested to see that deck played instead of the beasties that are in it, just committing more to Gassie, of course, and maybe the Piazza Bird that lowers flame spell cost, but like going hard on the boil over and just basically trying to burn me out until you can set up your boil over, which you have tried before and talked about that. But I think like we keep learning more and more about the game, and there would definitely be smart. Boil over is one of those decks that would be, you really need to know how to pilot it properly. Like you need to know, like, maybe I shouldn't hit you with my fireballs. Maybe I should just wait. And then I burned through most of your beasties. Okay, now I'm going to boil over 3 times. I'm going to fireball myself, 6 times for free with Piazza Bird. I'm deal you, et cetera, et cetera.
The plan with my spellbook originally was to send every single fireball to the caster, so you were always burned. In the event that you ever attacked, a little more loss of life, you'd have to suffer.
It does add up.
It does, but you're right. If you don't bring out beasties and you don't give me targets, then my 10 fireballs go deal 250 damage. And then I have to bring out one of my 4 beasties in that deck. If you have 4 death beams, if you have 4 Morpheuses, if you have 4 of anything,
I can just wait.
And you can remove my beasties, and then I'm doomed. So then I have, So now that you guys know how to take me apart, like a surgeon, like Dexter, just remove everything. I'll have to build another spell book before I show up on Patreon. And besides that, we need to confirm high-speed internet actually works here. Okay, all of that Let us now
Let's get into the
break
spoilers.
into the wilderness spoiler packs.
This is your first wilderness opening, huh?
Oh, what? It's not yours?
I mean, I opened 2 of these at Collecticon, which was extremely exciting.
What did you get?
I got a full hollow woolly mammoth, which I then got signed by Victor, and I got a Fountain of Youth.
You did?
Reverse hollow, which I got
didn't know
signed by
that.
Afton. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing, man.
Super stoked on those pulls.
Okay, well, I won't be fortunate enough to get these signed immediately after opening like some people, but hey, this is pretty cool. These were, I think these were free, weren't they?
Yeah.
Like we paid for shipping?
We had NFT tokens, so they guaranteed us each 1 per token.
Okay, give me that closest you can get to the Zelda.
Ooh, full hollow jackalope, dude.
Let's see. Let's show them off a little more.
Nice. Sick. Oh, man, I love how he has like the Mothman style eyes, just like the red.
You're right. Is it Kelsey? No, it's Michael. Who can do other styles just like Kris very well. I mean, I know you guys have your own, but we've talked about this.
Yeah.
I see some ability to adapt little details that make it hard for me to tell what artist it is sometimes.
Yeah, and there's artists who primarily seem to work with watercolor, like Kelsey, Michael does. Pepper seems to work a lot with watercolor.
JoJo's markers, Poncho's markers.
JoJo does do watercolor sometimes. I would say she's the most that flip-flops back and forth. But yeah, Poncho almost always does markers.
Yeah.
And Seb, I think, mostly does markers.
Afton does watercolor?
Afton does watercolor, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, so the jackalope, 8 per spellbook, contraction cost 1 forest, life points 20, is a trap, has the trap trait. 10 bonus for the lightning storm or the forest terra in play. 4th wall effect, this page cannot declare attacks if a drink is within eyesight. You have to assume that's always going to be there. So can't declare attacks for the most part. Arena, beasties you control cannot be damaged by effects that damage multiple beasties. So that is complete board state.
Yeah.
Beasties you control cannot be damaged by effects that damage multiple beasties. So
that's pretty powerful.
But it's damage, not loss of life.
Right.
So like burn would still apply. If a bunch of your beasties were burned, or if you
but it would be like Mud Monster's effect that whenever he attacks, you get to deal 10 damage to 2 other beasties. Guardian Angel's effect that deals 10 damage to all dark or spirit beasties.
Okay,
there's a number of effects like that are like attack effects that deal damage to everything.
Okay, all right. And Bubbling Brew is also that loss of life, right? It's not damage, is it, or is it damage?
It's damage. It's 5 damage. Yeah.
So Jackalope and Dingbell might become best buds to keep everybody alive.
Maybe.
Minigore is the attack, dealing 10 damage. This attack deals plus 10 damage for every opposing beastie in the arena. Wow, so he could be like really good up against Dingbells too.
Yeah. Jackalope is a really interesting beastie because it's really good outside of that first 4th wall effect. That's like if it beverages within eyesight or whatever. And so I wonder if Jackalope is going to be a card that really shines in like a blitz format where maybe you don't have the 4th wall effects to put a drink, or you're only given 1 4th wall slot and you might not be able to use it for a drink. So I think it's interesting because Jackalope might change depending on the format, because he's definitely a badass beastie and I like him a lot, and he's a fearsome critter. There's a bunch of like pluses, but the fact that he can't attack is a big negative. It would mean you'd just be using him as a defender or a trap.
How many 4th wall effects are you allowed to list in competitive play?
In competitive standard and in Terra, well, let's see. In Terra only, you're allowed to have 4 on your 4th wall list. In competitive standard, I believe because a bunch of them are predetermined, you're allowed to have 1 additional 4th wall item, maybe 2, but it's not 4. 4 is just for Terra only. And so these will be a little more limited as there are more competitive standard events or blitz events. I'm not sure how many 4th wall you're allowed in blitz, if any. I don't really know.
Okay, but there's a chance. We're getting a lot of 4th wall items that someone might not have a drink.
Right.
However, I think all Frogmen people are going to have a drink, aren't they?
They will if they're playing Frogman. Yeah, because otherwise you can't use the power.
And that's the most popular deck in the meta right now. Who knows what happens with Wilderness next week?
Yeah.
But in the moment, this rabbit deer hybrid is a prominent critter in the west of the cryptid nation, always darting out of the corner of your eyes. It gathers as much food as it can before bringing it back to its den. That's as fast as me, it'll never catch me. Oh, nice. Good old Joey from America's Funniest People on a Friday night, just after America's Home Videos with, what's his name, Savage?
Bob Saget.
Bob Saget.
May he rest in peace.
Oh, no.
Yep. Bob Saget just passed away recently.
Fuck you, death.
And on that note, let's see what I got in my wilderness bag. A non-hollow Starlight Bloom. That's actually kind of cool. I wonder how many non-hollow Starlight Blooms there will be, because it's one of the artifact essences, which normally, you know, you can get non-hollows out of booster packs, but that's kind of cool.
We've already had artifact essences that are non-hollow, I believe.
But that one has the stamp. Yeah, I already have non-hollow.
Oh,
like
the
lightning
wilderness
alleys
stamp.
and stuff. Yeah.
So not all the cards are going to have that.
Yeah.
Because this is a sample pack.
Right.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. Your Jackalope is like a stamped,
that's
wilderness
pretty
spoiler.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Artifact Essence Starlight Bloom, 2 per spellbook, contraction cost 0, light. Life points 50. You may fatigue this artifact at any time to generate 1 light and 1 cosmic aura. You may not control more than 2 artifact essences in the arena.
I'm playing that in my current wilderness spellbook. Absolutely.
Right now you're playing it.
Oh, yeah.
All right, 100%. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
When magical properties come from beyond our atmosphere, when light rays and cosmic rays combine to form something new, you get a Starlit Bloom, I guess.
Nice.
All right. Okay. Let's finish going through the wilderness, and then let's talk a little bit about what you're playing on TTS.
Yeah,
why
totally.
you're using that.
Shout out to Afton. This is such an awesome piece. I really like the art on that.
Okay. Bum, bum, bum.
Ooh, that's like, for me, that's like a chase. The Megalodon Tooth. I think that's one of the best essences. The Water Dark. Awesome. Hell yeah. Because to start to crack into a little bit of the wilderness and what I'm playing, Torrential River is way more powerful in wilderness because there's way more zero cost water pages now, including this one. So if you get a Torrential River going, then you can drop an artifact, and because it's a water page, you'll get the 30 damage, you'll get an extra bookmark out of it. It's pretty badass, and Torrential River is definitely a deck you're going to be seeing me play quite a bit. It is really fun, and it's a risky game because you have to play everything at the right time. Like, you have to know when to hold your Megalodon Tooths and when you need them. It's like, do I need it for aura, or do I hold it for Torrential? No, you're fine. Stupid. I know.
I know.
Sing the song now. Go ahead. Sing the song.
No. I didn't have the right tone. I've been fucking up the Zelda theme. I'm going to back off of the singing and humming for now. The bottom of the ocean contains many dark and dangerous artifacts, hardened by millions of years of deep sea pressure. Nice. Millions and billions.
Nice. I like it. All right. Last pack.
You know who says that? Millions and billions and billions. I'm not doing that one good either. My impressions are off today. Hence why I don't always upload an illustrated novel guys, because sometimes my voice just doesn't do what I want. Less talking helps me control it. I talk a lot, so kind of out of control.
All right, let's do this. Ooh, a new Terra. Nice. Wilderness stamped Winter Terra from Kris Kampmann with like an icy. Is that like Jack Frost's castle?
Art is awesome, man.
That is so cool.
Wow.
Love it.
So what do you think the medium is that he's doing there?
That is probably markers.
Is it?
Yeah.
And you're saying that because of the light or because of everything? You can just get an idea now because you've been using them so much.
Yeah. So like with watercolor, if you look at Afton's piece here, this is watercolor, and
I'll take it up.
You can see how the tones like vary, and you can see where the water has run into itself and created different layers of tone just by her layering colors. It's the way it bleeds into like the moss there, and the way the light looks is almost like a marker, but because you can see the rest of it, you can tell that this is a watercolor piece.
Oh, I see, like the dappling of the green on the rock.
Yeah, that's,
whereas
you can't really
this is
dapple.
Like really clean.
Yeah, like even those marker strokes, which were probably done with a brush marker, you can tell they just are more shapely. They don't bleed.
As if it's a pen tip. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to bring it down, guys. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how you can tell the difference with marker.
Yeah, like the highlight up here in the tower, if I can point to it, the little blue underneath the tower. Gosh, it's so hard to move on a camera that's reverse. It looks like a line as opposed to something that was wet and dried with different consistencies.
Same with the shading. All the shading on it, you can tell, is very shaped. There's not a lot of bleeding to the shading. And so that's,
dude, again, Kris, I know we just showed this, but I love castles. I mean, who doesn't, you know? And this, I want to know where this is in the lore.
I think the blue trees is a really nice touch. The blue trees just makes it feel like totally otherworldly.
They're frost.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. There were our wilderness spoilers, guys.
Nice.
By the way, before we talk about the, what you're experiencing on TTS and your latest spellbook, Wilderness, if you guys want a Wilderness playmat, this little chibi playmat, my bro Moldy here illustrated, we are putting another order in. It's been awesome to have the support from everyone picking one up. And just get in touch with us either in the comments below or on Instagram. Our links are in the description. Or
Instagram's
best of all,
best.
Yeah, it is. Or best of all, join our Patreon because we give you your contribution to the Patreon towards the playmat if you want to get one. And then you'd also be entered into the giveaways at the end of this month. Okay, I'm going to set these aside. And in the event that we want to talk about any specific cards, I thought we would go over to, big shout out to MetaZooHQ. This should just flip us right there. Awesome. And we'll just leave this up. We can pull them up as you think of them. You did say you were doing a light cosmic.
I'm using the light cosmic artifact, but I'm actually just playing a light deck right now, and it is so deadly. So go back to Dragon, scroll up to Dragon of Okanto. So this is a card that we talked about a bit, and I said I was pretty excited, but I also said it's just one I'm going to have to test because there's so much, it has so many traits and abilities, but it doesn't have a lot of effect text. And so I was just curious, like how this was going to perform in the arena up against decks and seeing how the meta changes. It is nasty, guys.
Let's read it in case people are listening.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So the Dragon of Okanto Falls is a beastie dragon. You can have 3 per spellbook. This is pretty common in Wilderness. There's a number of dragons of different aura types. This one costs 4 light aura. It's 55 life points. It has flight. It has magic proof. So with flight, it can't be targeted for attacks except by other beasties who have flight. Only flying beasties can attack other flying beasties, but they can be blocked by any beastie. So it's not quite like magic. It's not quite unblockable, but it's a really nice defensive trait in the end that just helps keep your beastie safe from being attacked by all the little like groundlings. Okay.
Imagine a beastie up in the air flying high and you can't get to them, but when they attack, they swoop down so you can get entangled and block and defend.
That's the way to look at it. And then it has magic proof, so it can't be targeted by spells. Now that is huge. That is crazy huge in this game. So many spells target beasties. There's only a few that get around magic proof, and potions get around magic proof, and powers and attacks and all that stuff. But when you have a beastie who already has flying, that means it's hard to attack it. Then if it has magic proof, it's hard to hit spells on it. And then it has fleet, which means that the turn I contract it, it comes out ready to use. And this is totally changing how the light aura performs. Like light was already strong with the elementals. We can talk more about how awesome elementals are. They're one of the best beasties in the game, but they're low cost and they're pretty easy to remove if somebody's got the right cards to remove them with, especially spells, because they're not magic proof. But then all the light elementals have to do is hold the foundation of your deck together until the dragons show up. And when these dragons show up, they cause havoc in the arena. Just being able to bring it out, attack right away. It swings for 40. If you got daytime in the arena, it swings for 60. If you've got stars and daytime, it swings for 80. It has fleet. This thing is so nasty.
Instantly can deliver 80 damage and burn 3.
Yep. Burn 3, and you can just lightning in a bottle and keep it rolling. This thing, when it comes out, people are like, what? No, hang on. And they like reread it. You can see like their mouse like lingering over the card because they're like reading it. And then they're like, okay, but he's mad. Oh my God. They just don't know how to deal with it. And I don't either. When I've done mirror matches against the dragon, basically you are just waiting for toxic water to show up so that you can remove all those traits and deal with the dragon. Because luckily 55 life points is not as crazy as it could get for a dragon. So it's relatively destroyable once you can bring it down to the ground or remove some of those traits.
Remind everyone what toxic water is.
Toxic water, we can scroll down to that if we want, but toxic water is probably going to be one of the most played cards, if not the most played card in the set. It is a water potion, so keep scrolling down till you get to the water pages. There you go, and there it is at the last one.
Oh, I missed it.
Scroll down.
The next row. Oh, okay.
So it's the water type potion. You can have 4 per spell book. Like all potions, it's free. Target beastie loses all of its traits until the end of the turn, and if it was burrowed, unburrow it. This is so powerful. I'm main decking 3 of these right now.
Of course.
I'm tempted to main deck 4 because I always use them, but it's like, you got to find that balance. And right now 3 is treating me very well. It is free, unlike First Anniversary Celebration, which removes all traits or nullifies all traits until the end of your next turn. That can cause problems for your own deck. Like if you're playing a Frogman deck and you play your First Anniversary Celebration, your Frogman's going to lose Magic Proof until the end of your next turn, and that can cause complications. Whereas Toxic Water is a much more like a sniper shot. Like, nope, Dragon's going to lose all traits until the end of this turn, and I'm just going to whoop his ass with, whatever I've got.
I'm sure if you're listening to this, you know what traits are.
Yeah.
But think about that, guys.
Flight,
no more flying, no more
strike,
spirit, no more first strike,
defender,
no more anything in that upper left-hand corner. It's all gone
Yeah.
for that turn, actually, until the end of... Oh, okay. So Toxic Water is just until the end of that turn.
That's
whereas
all you need.
The Celebration is, I believe, a full rotation.
The end of your next turn, yeah. And that's actually an advantage to Toxic Water, I think. I often, like I said, find myself being like, oh shit, I can't do this because I First Anniversary Celebration last turn. It's still lasting. But Toxic Water, it's just perfect. You can target out a beastie, remove all those traits. Like John Henry, look at those ridiculous traits. He is unblockable. He has Defender, so his life doubles when it's not its controller's turn, and he has Regen. And you could just Toxic Water, and he would go from 240 LP down to 120. He would be blockable, and he would have the regen, or he would lose the regen.
Yeah, man.
So it's,
I think that is a must play in any spell book right now, not even side deck. It is going to change the game immediately. So I can't wait for that card. That's the first one I'm going to build into. I mean, it's going to be built into everything, just so I don't have to worry about at least 4 beasties. I can get around it, because right now playing those cosmics, there's so many spirit traits. I am really doing math on who I can attack or who I have to remove. It's something. And when you add Magic Proof to that, it gets even more challenging. I wanted to say one thing before we move on. Go back to this dragon really quick. Okay, right now I pay for my fireballs, pay 4 aura for 100 damage. Okay, this is 4 aura for almost 100 damage. If you've got those Terra in play, and because specifically the Dragon of Oconto Falls has fleet, then you're dealing 80 damage instantaneously for 4 aura. That's almost as good as my fireballs. Now, no, that last 20 is missing. Yeah, I get that. And you're not burning. But this beastie, if he doesn't get removed immediately, will be there to do the same thing the next turn.
Exactly. So another one can come out. There's 3 per spell book. They're like Kets. They just keep showing up. And the more that come out, the more you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to deal with these? And
I see that the light elementals in my mind would be great targets or draws. So get those death beams out of the way. Like if your opponent is going to remove beasties, before you bring your dragon, give them a reason to remove your littler beasties, which you can get out early on, and you're okay with losing because this guy is a big badass who could end a game. And there's 3 of them in a spell book.
And the thing is, that's why the light spellbook I think is going to be top tier competitive for this season, is basically because light elementals will end a game easily. Like, they're not a card that like might end a game. They 100% will. In fact, if you were watching the TTS stream last week when I was playing Dean, shout out, dude, those were such killer games. We were doing a light mirror match, and I started a game with a holy gem and no aura. Okay. I had first turn. I was like, look, the rest of my hand is perfect right now, so I'm going to take the risk. This is a stupid hand, but at the same time, let's see what happens, okay? So my Holy Gem lasted till the 3rd turn before he got to destroy it with his elementals and his tokens, but in those first 2 turns, I got out 3 elementals, and those held down the entire game. He killed the Holy Gem. I had no aura for like 4 turns, just no aura, but my light elementals and my lightning in a bottles were doing so much work that I took control of the game, and then when my aura started to show up, I could start dropping dragons. So light elementals absolutely finish a game, and they have to be dealt with. But the thing is, now they can be dealt with way easier because of Toxic Water. So you drop Toxic Water, elemental loses spirit, you can attack it with anything. It's only got 20 LP. So this is making for a fascinating game. And there's another dragon I want to look at right now. Go to Iowa Dragon. So I think that'll be up at the top 2. I think that was another rare.
Okay.
So you will notice as you play more and more of Wilderness that these dragons are not created equal. Go to Cumberland even for 1 second.
Sure.
Cumberland Dragon, like the other dragon, like Oconto, has flight, okay? Doesn't have fleet, so can't come out and attack right away. Doesn't have magic proof. Has Stone Skin, which is pretty close, but has 80 life points, where Oconto has 55. And he swings for 50, and if you've got the forest out, he swings for 80, which means that if you match him up against an Okanto, he's going to win every time, and he can attack Okantos, right? So Cumberland is dominant over Okanto in the arena. Same with Iowa. Let's see where Iowa's at. Iowa Dragon is another one that when I'm playing my light deck, I came up against a flame. There it is.
Where?
Left, bottom left.
There?
Yeah. I came up against a flame spell book, and I wasn't really worried while they were busting out their explosive rabbits, okay, which are cool beasties. Granted, I like explosive rabbits. I've said before, they remind me of perilous Murs in Magic. You just get to sling around damage. But my Okanto can't match up against Iowa Dragon. Iowa Dragon has 65 life, which means that if I have 1 Terra, which is likely that I'll have 1 Terra out, my dragon swings for 60, which means Okanto can take that hit, and then he hits back for 50, maybe 65 if he has 1 Terra out, which is enough to kill Okanto. So
also it inflicts burn. I mean, both you guys inflict burn on each other. So you would, slow the game down a little bit, but I see your point.
Yep.
These 1 per spellbook dragons are the answer for the Okantos that you have 3.
Yeah.
And you have multiple choices.
These are 3 per spellbook as well. Just Cumberland was 1.
Does that say 3?
That's 3. Yeah, dude. Iowa's a whole new meta for Flame. Iowa Dragon is the next card I wanted to talk about, not just because it matches up well with Okanto, but because this is a card like Okanto, and it should be like this with dragons, right? When it comes out, you get scared if you're on the other side of the arena. Me, playing a game with 2 Okantos and 2 light elementals, I 100% thought I had this shit in the bag. My opponent popped out an Iowa Dragon. All of a sudden, all my beasties had burn too, right? And then my dragons, if they would attack his dragon, they would get burned, and then he'd kill them.
Was that Caden's Cool Kid who did that?
I don't think Cadence,
because he was playing rabbits, right?
I don't think he busted out a dragon. Maybe he did, but the dragon came up in my Caster Society tournament.
Okay.
And it was just so nasty. And right when I dealt with it, I had to crash one of my dragons into it, kill my dragon, and then hit his dragon with another dragon.
Let me read this, man.
He brought another Iowa Dragon right back out, and it just keeps stacking burn and getting so nasty.
Okay. Iowa Dragon, 3 per spellbook. Didn't see that.
Yeah.
Contraction cost 1 neutral, 3 flame, life point 65. 20 bonus to the attack for the Desert Terra, 15 bonus for the Mountain.
That's ground.
Okay. Contract. Deal 25 damage to target opposing caster. Inflict that caster and their beasties with burn 2.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
Whoa.
That's why my dragons couldn't attack his dragon, because if they did, they'd lose 20 life, they would have gone to 35, and then his dragon would just finish him off.
So that's what you mean by not the trait scared, but actually literally the player having a little bit of fear in them because suddenly their arena is on pause while your dragon is in full force.
Yeah.
Incinerate is the attack dealing a base damage 50, inflicting 3 burn. If the primary defender could you read that?
Yeah, so Incinerate inflicts 3 burn, deals 50 base damage, and if the primary defender this combat already has a burn indicator on him, which he probably will, right, because of the contract effect, you increase the counters by 2. Damn. So he just keeps stacking on burn, and once again, just like Okanto, 3 of these can be out at once, which is just crazy. Like, that's crazy to deal with. That makes
me want to build a light flame deck.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that makes me want to do. And
Gassy and the Flying Dragons.
Sounds like a band. So did when you said Dropping Dragons. That sounds like a 90s, I don't know, hip-hop group or something.
Yeah, right.
Dropping Dragons. All right. Well, yeah. What else did you have in your spell book?
Let's see. In my spell book, it was really just light elementals, Okanto dragons. Oh, Golden Bear. Let's talk about Golden Bear.
So scroll up.
Yeah, scroll up.
I thought that was up. That one on the left there.
This is another card that, man, I underestimated. I thought it was cool, okay? I knew it was cool, and I remember saying, this thing could be really tough to deal with because of the defender trait and the fact that it recovers LP.
Let's read it before you tell them why.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
4 per spellbook, contraction cost 1 neutral, 2 light, life points 45. Has the defender trait, meaning the life points will be doubled when it is not your turn. Mm-hmm. When it is your turn, those life points reduce back to their normal. Mm-hmm. So if you deal 45 damage to this Golden Bear when it's not your turn, by the time it comes back, he will die.
Right.
20 bonus to the attack for the Forest Terra. 20 bonus to life points for the Daytime Terra. Arena effect. At the end of the turn, if this beastie took damage this turn, it recovers 20 LP.
Yes.
That is a very unique form. It's not regen. It's actually better, kind of. I mean, it is.
We've been jokingly calling this math bear because you end up doing so much math with this bear when he's on your side and when he's not.
For the double the life points.
Yes.
And then if you
and
took
then
the damage, the 20 LP.
Because like you just said, if you dealt him 45 damage
he's actually
and then
not
it passed
dead.
back, no, because at the end of that turn, he'll recover 20 and then it passes back and he's fine. So it's nasty. And then look at the traits, okay? So he has the defender, right? But then if you go down to the Terras, he gets a 20 bonus from the forest, which is the most common Terra. Forest Terra comes out all the time. So chances are he's going to be swinging for 40. And then the other, one of the most common Terras, especially the more light becomes a part of this meta, is daytime. So usually he's a 65 who swings for 40. If you control 10 or more light pages, that attack deals plus 50 damage. You're going to have 10 or more light pages by mid-game if you're playing an elemental spellbook. And he's only a 3-drop. So this dude, it's another card. Like what they've done with light is they haven't given us a ton of new beasties, but the beasties they gave us are so good. They're being slid right into the deck and they just make you feel safe. Like Bear makes me feel so safe. I had a power up red on him in a game.
Oh, forget about it, dude.
So his life points were 165 when it was my turn. And then when it wasn't my turn, he had like 330 life points. Good luck.
You're not dealing 330 life points, probably.
No, you're not even going to be able to deal 135.
Especially when the beast is going to get to hit back. So there's no spells that are dealing that in a turn. If you had multiple lightning in the
for
bottles,
70. Oh, it's awesome. 90 actually. Swings for 90 if the forest tears out.
Yeah, that's
it's
something.
ridiculous.
Okay. Yep. Golden Claw is the attack, base damage 20. But like you said, if you control 10 or more light pages, this attack deals plus 50 more damage.
It's crazy.
Whoa, man. So yeah, swinging for 90 with the Forest Terra out and this 10 light pages. And then again, like you said, full Terra, full effect. Let's say that he's got 65 life points because the daytime Terra is out also, which would mean 130 life points when it's not your turn. And if you dealt him damage and you don't kill him, he's going to recover 20 life points at the end of that turn, which means that you have to deal 85 life points just to get rid of him.
It's really fucking hard. And you don't think it is until you are matched up against the bear and you actually are staring at it and you have to make it go away. And you're like, how do I, and that's why we call it math bear. It's like, how do I get rid of you? What are you even going to do to me? And you're like on your calculator, like, can I deal it 60? Can I deal it 60? 60 is going to kill it. Yeah. 60 damage. No, 65 damage. Has to be 65 when I pass turn. And you just like, your brain just starts steaming.
That's awesome. I love it. It reminds me of the, oh, damn. Why can't my brain remember it? The Honey Smacks, the cereal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not the art, but the Golden Bear and all that. And I remember the commercials. Okay, so you were playing Golden Bear. You were playing a Kanto Dragon. Are there any other notable cards that you were playing that you think?
A ton of lightning in a bottle.
Of course.
Like I said, the Toxic Waters. That was really the light spellbook I'm playing right now. Of course, Fountain of Youth. We can talk about Fountain of Youth real quick, but everybody already knew that that was going to be one of the best cards in the set. Guess what? It is. It's amazing because if you guys don't remember, they ruled that Fountain of Youth, which has a fourth wall effect, it's up in the rares. It's up at the top.
Thank you.
It has a fourth wall effect that says target at the end of each turn, target caster recovers 100 LP minus their age. But like we've talked about before, age is a non-item. So they've ruled this to basically say at the end of each turn, target player recovers 100 LP minus 0 because age is a non-item, which means that at the end of each turn, target caster, meaning you, gets to recover 100 LP every single turn. That includes the turn you bring it out. So at the worst performing you're going to get with Fountain of Youth is I spent 3 aura and I recovered 100 life points. That's if my opponent can immediately destroy it. If he can't destroy it, then guess what? All the burn damage on my dragons, I can just remove it, because target bestiary caster recovers 75 LP and has all status effects removed. That's on top of the 100 LP you get for free at the end of every turn.
That's a power, so you need to fatigue it. It's going to enter the arena fatigued. So you'll either need a lightning in the bottle to do that right away, or it needs to survive. You cannot.
You can't lightning in a bottle an artifact.
Oh, sorry. Right. Of course.
So it has to survive.
It has to survive, and then you can start to use the power. What is that power called?
Rejuvenation.
So target beastie or caster recovers 75 LP and has all status effects removed. Yeah, it's okay. So just hearing you talk about light, I know we went over the cards, but I didn't start putting them together like you do before me. I don't know what's going to contend with this right now. Just the 100 life points alone allows you to reset so many turns. And then when you add how cool and powerful the Akanto Dragons are and the Golden Bears, oh man.
Yeah.
And of course, we already liked the light tokens. That was one of the first wipeouts, like wipeout spell books that we had to set it aside. It was winning so much. And it won for you. It won for me. It worked way better for you than it worked for me. But yeah, it's still one that sits over there as like, that one's dangerous.
It's so deadly. I love it so much, and I'm planning on continuing to test it because I think it's one of the top tier decks. I think there are a couple other top tier decks which we should talk about, but
maybe we'll save it for another podcast.
I was going to say we're hitting 40 minutes, and I could just talk about another aura type deck next time. We could do Torrential River or something.
Guys, we're going to keep these up. We're going to try to do a podcast at least. Well, I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, so we're just going to try to do these more often. And we will certainly be talking about the spell books in more detail that we're experiencing, especially you on TTS with not only Caster Society, but our patrons. And to our patrons, I'm so proud of you guys. I love when he comes out of the room and he's sweating. He's like, oh, it was a good game. Like I got out just barely, got that win, or didn't win sometimes. So yeah, I think for now, unless there's another page or two in your light spell book that you think deserves like an honorable mention.
No, not really. That's really
Those
about
are the
it.
big boys.
That's really about it. Outside of that, it's nothing new. There's a couple banishes in it. I run a Chaos Crystal. I run a couple Absorb Aura, but it's really It's really just Okanto Dragons, Golden Bears, and Light Elementals, and then Lightning in a Bottle. And between those cards, you can do so much damage.
And the of course the River of Life. What is it called? Sorry,
the Fountain of Youth.
Fountain of Youth.
Yeah.
River of Life.
The River of Life.
Sure, whatever.
Yeah.
I believe that the light elementals were great, but Frogman was the best. However, now with Toxic Water, Frogman can be removed with a card or two very easily, and you're going to have multiple opportunities. Really, just the first anniversary, right? That one itself changed the game for us. I overlooked that card, guys. I didn't even know it existed. And then he started to pull this on me, and any trait that I had, it didn't matter anymore. And that's how you started shutting down my Frogmen.
Yep.
And yeah, now that there's even more chances, I think, I don't know, I can see Frogman kind of drifting to the back. He's a cool mechanic, but he won't be the reliable one that everyone's using, especially if more players move into light with Toxic Water and they can gain those life points, well, recover those life points and put on the pressure with a lot of damage, which is kind of what light was missing. It had some tech, but it didn't have a lot of big damage dealing beasties, and now it does.
Yeah, I think Frog, and we can talk about this next time because I'd like maybe next time to talk about the Torrential River deck. I think Frog still has a place in the meta, but what he has been reduced to at this point is you're going to get him out and you're going to hope that either the other person doesn't have a Toxic Water in their hand, and basically you're hoping to use Frog a little bit because he gives you extra bookmarks, he draws the attention of the opponent, so they're going to have to deal with him, and he lets you hopefully be able to shut down some beasties before he gets killed. But yeah, I see Frogman basically like his power level has been way lowered. He's no longer OP. He's just P. He's just powerful.
He's still powerful.
Yeah.
It's like having, you know, an option for removal that hangs around if you're lucky.
Right. But I've put him in and out of the Torrential River deck.
Okay.
Because chances are when I bring him out, if my opponent is running Toxic Water,
why wouldn't your opponent be?
Yeah.
Your opponent is planning on that. And there's so many other traits outside of just Frogman's Magic Proof that I'd want to remove to guarantee. I mean, just the fact that Stone Skin now is going in my, you know, regular old Flame Fireball deck. Suddenly now I can get rid of Stone Skin. Ah, man. Okay, let's cut it right there. We're still on the slow internet. We want to get up to the family dinner, and we will be back, guys. If you're enjoying the channel and you feel like supporting us, a great way to do that is subscribe first and foremost. Until we hit those 1,000 subscribers, we're going to keep saying this shit. And also, if you're shopping at Channel Fireball, use the code Metabroz with a Z at checkout. It will not cost you anything extra, but it certainly does help us.
Yes, it really does. And you can also, like I said earlier, go to patreon.com/Metabroz with a Z if you want to support us a little more directly and participate in our giveaways, art contests, stuff like that, fun things. And
last thing, if you guys want to play Matt, we're going to put another order in. Hit us up either in the comments on Instagram. Our IG accounts are in the description, or join the Patreon where you get your contribution towards the playmat and you're also entered into the giveaways. That's it, guys.
Good stuff.
Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time on
Metabroz.
Later, guys.
Later.